Is January too early to be sowing seeds? Well, I don't think so. And today I'm going to be showing you one or two of the seeds which I think are essential to start sowing now if you want to be successful later in the year. I'm Gang Gang. Welcome to the channel, Gang Gang and Peanuts, 2 peas in a pod. Now the first seeds I'll be sowing in January are these. And these are chilli seeds. And you'll need to start these in January. If you leave it until March, you're already too late, and the plants will just be coming into their own as the summer is ending. Now, if you're going to sow and grow these chillies, you will need to provide some heat in the form of a heat mat or a heated propagator, and you'll need to provide that heat not only for the initial stages of germination, but for several weeks after, until the temperatures outside start to pick up. If you want to know how I sow these chilli seeds, you can watch one of my videos in my playlist that tells you everything you're going to need to know. And growing chillies is quite straightforward. You just treat them like a tomato. Unlike the next seed that I'm going to be sowing. Now the next seed I'll be sowing in January are these. And these are aubergines, or the fussy plant as I like to call them, because aubergines are quite fussy. They will need some heat to germinate, and again you'll need to provide that for several weeks until the warmer weather comes round. And one thing with aubergines is do not overwater them, otherwise they will just sit there doing nothing. However, once the aubergines do get going, they reward you with some beautiful looking fruits, and the purple flowers make a very colourful addition here in the greenhouse or out in the garden. So aubergines, well worth sowing and growing, and you must get them going in January. Another seed that I'll be sowing in January are these, and these are onion seeds, traditionally sown on Boxing Day. Now you can sow the seeds in January, it doesn't mean you're too late, and you can sow and grow these seeds for onions without any heat and without any light. Initially, the seedlings will look a bit pathetic, but don't worry, because they will pick up and start to bulb as the season goes on. So, another seed to sow in January are onions. The next seed that I'll be sowing in January, I don't have a packet of seeds to show you, because they are peppers. And last year I grew some peppers that were sent to me by a subscriber, and they were King of the North, and they were fantastic. But I also grew some peppers from the seeds from supermarket peppers. And these seeds will again need some heat to get them germinated and to keep them ticking over. But once they start to take off, they provide some fantastic looking fruits. So this year I will be growing peppers again. I will be starting them in January, and I will try again to see if I can get some success from the seeds from some supermarket peppers. So peppers are another seed that you can sow in January. You could also in January be sowing some seeds of some leafy greens like some lettuce, and I will be sowing some of these and keeping them out here in the unheated greenhouse and letting them do their thing. It won't take long before I'm able to eat some of these. I'll also be growing some microgreens, which have to be the easiest thing to grow ever. You simply sprinkle these onto some compost in a tray and let them do their thing. And when they're ready to harvest, it's a simple matter of trimming them down and adding them to a salad. So leafy greens and microgreens are another thing that I will be sowing this January. Now, there is a seed that causes quite a lot of different opinions among gardeners as to whether it can be sown in January or not, and that is tomatoes. Now, can you sow tomatoes in January or can't you? Well, I think both sides of the argument are correct, but if you choose the right variety of tomato, you definitely can sow them in January. In fact, I've been growing tomatoes throughout the winter, and if you want to see how I've done that, you can see the videos in my playlist. I think if you're going to sow tomatoes in January, you must pick the right type, and that is to grow a bush tomato or a determinate variety, because tomatoes grow very fast, and if you're growing a variety that grows quite large, starting it in January may not be such a good idea. But pick the right variety, pick a bush or determinate variety, and it is very, very possible to get tomatoes a lot earlier in the season than anybody else. Now, sowing these seeds in January for me is not about sowing seeds just for the sake of it. And I know that some of you will be desperate to get sowing. For me, it's about planning ahead and avoiding the seed sowing madness that occurs in March. And as I've already explained to you, if you leave some of these seeds until March, you're already too late. So that's a variety of seeds that I will be sowing this January. Remember that what I do is not necessarily the right way. It's just my way, and that's what I'm sharing with you in this video. If you've enjoyed the video, please click on the subscribe button. Come along and see what we get up to over here on this channel. I'm Gang Gang. This is Gang Gang and Peanuts, 2 peas in a pod. And as ever, until next time, take care. Bye.